requires some walking to get up to the top of those hills and into those forests. And so I would say yes, it is more difficult in the winter and in the dry season to find some food, even though there's an abundance of food here. It does become a little bit more difficult, more challenging to get, not difficult, let's call it a challenge, to find. Dusa, how often do ellies get stuck in these ditches? Elephant do get stuck in mud. It's a common thing that you find elephant, in particular young elephant, trying to get to water in the middle of some zebra crashing our party. Also coming down for a drink. Oh, they're beautiful animals. But it's not common. Generally speaking, elephant calves are helped by their mothers, and in extreme cases an elephant calf or an old elephant will be abandoned to the mud or to a ditch. Young ellies, older ellies that are a bit weak perhaps, will sometimes be abandoned, but it's not a very common thing, to be honest with you. Have a look at that ellie having a drink there, that little guy. Off to the right, there we go, and just to the left. There we go, in the center. There we go. He's trying to have a drink and go to the loo at the same time. It's not working out for him. There's too many things to do at once. Have a look, that poor little elephant's lost the tip of his tail. I wonder how that happened. That is bizarre. Elephant will bite each other in a fight, and they will bite each other, but they're also susceptible at this age to hyena, lion, and crocodile. And Bev was wondering, why does that elephant have such a stumpy tail? I don't know, Bev. It's a good question. It looks like it's been injured somehow. I would imagine it's either been caught by a lion or a crocodile or a hyena when it was very young. There's a possibility that a young elephant in a bit of boisterous play bit off the end of the tail. They sometimes do that. It could have gotten its tail stuck in something and broken it off. Hey, what an interesting mystery. We've watched crocodiles bite the tails off of numerous animals here in the river crossings. You might find that a particularly big crocodile decided to take a chance at this youngster, perhaps when they were crossing a river. How weird. Well, that's going to be a distinguishing mark on that elephant for the rest of its life. It's going to be interesting over the next couple of years to follow this particular elephant. This herd will be easily identified for a while by that female with a massive tusk. So I do actually recognize her. I've seen her once or twice before. She is a remarkable female elephant. You can just see her tusk sticking out the back there, in fact. Anna Marie, you want to know if female elephant tusk size has anything to do with testosterone or if it's just genetics? That's an interesting question, Anna Marie. I would say that it's got to do with genetics. I'm not going to, although all mammals at least, produce some form of testosterone. And it's an interesting question, that, because you might find that there's something here in this environment that increases the testosterone in female elephant, giving them these long tusks. Wow. However, that is unlikely. It is most probably because the female elephant in this area just have a very deep reservoir of large tusked bulls, and the environment is not harsh on these elephant tusks. In other words, female elephant can, if they've got the genes for long, elegant ivory, which these ones do, they won't break off their tusks at a young age feeding on hardcore vegetation like they do in Botswana or in the Kruger Park, for instance. And they can reach an older age where their tusk length and reaches a maturity or reaches maximum length. And I think that those two things are more likely than an increase in testosterone. However, I'm not discounting the fact that something in this environment might produce or have an increase in elephant female testosterone, which gives them this beautiful ivory. Good question there, Anna-Marie. I don't really know the answer to that. It's just, I think it's genetics plus a kind environment has led to elegant ivoried elephant. Have a look at that large tusk on that female. That is beautiful. I mean, that is bigger than some male elephant ivory in the Kruger Park, easily. Even though she's quite a small-bodied cow, not a very big-bodied cow, that is a remarkable tusk. Well done. It's beautiful. Almost looks surreal. Looks like it's been stuck on there like a narwhal's tusk. As you've asked if the fact that young Ellie doesn't have the tip of its tail, if it would adversely affect that Ellie later on in life, not at all. The elephants, if it's a female elephant, it would be slightly less able to communicate with its calf, because that tufted tail is what baby elephant follow. They follow their mothers, and it is hanging that low down specifically because elephant eyes are pointed or focused towards the tip of their trunk, and baby elephant will follow their mother's tails around. But baby elephant, it's an intelligent species. They're not driven solely by instinct, and that elephant will be able to adapt very quickly to not only not having a following mechanism and thus being unable to communicate effectively with its calf, but also in the fact that the tail does provide some swatting mechanism for flies. You see elephants overcome any number of disabilities. They are, in my opinion, next to hyena, probably the most adaptable animal in Africa that I know of. Large mammal, at least, anyway. Yes, I'll stick with that statement. They're one of the top most adaptable animals. And so having a little tail like that will have or one tusk, or a trunk that doesn't function properly, or a rent in the ear, or even a broken leg, or even displaced hips. I've seen elephant just overcome the most unbelievable things. Them and the hyena are supremely adaptable to whatever environmental pressure is present at that time. So no, rest assured, I think this elephant is fine. I don't think anything will happen to it. What a lovely sighting. That escarpment in the background, that is where Angama Mara is perched, and a couple of other lodges, but you can see that lovely view they have from the top there. Marissa, you want to know about elephant with small tusks. Do they have small tusks in the Mara, or do they have small tusks in the Kruger, if I gather your question correctly? Alice, is that right? So South Africa and the Mara, who has the smallest tusks? Definitely the Mara has the largest tusked females that I've ever seen. Excuse me, Alice? Sorry, why don't we just start with the question again? I think that'll be easier. Oh, okay. Marissa, you wanted to know, where do we see more elephants without tusks? Excuse me, Marissa. My hearing is not what it used to be. Where do we see more elephants without tusks, South Africa or the Mara? Definitely South Africa. You see more tuskless elephant in South Africa than you do in the Mara, at least in my experience. However, the elephants are bigger in the Kruger, and their tusks and ivory are bigger. So you have bigger elephant and bigger tusked elephant in the Kruger. However, you do have more tuskless elephant and broken tusked elephant in the Kruger than I've seen in the Mara. However, what trumps both is Botswana. I've seen more Tuskless elephant in Botswana and broken tusked elephants in Botswana than in any other country. In actual fact, you'll battle to see an elephant in Botswana that has entire tusks. In other words, that has a terminal point that's not damaged in some way. And on that point, Taylor has found that jackal den that she was looking for and would like to show you what she's found there.
Well, that's not a jackal, that's a warthog. That's just grazing. We have arrived at the jackal den, however, but sadly, it is empty. There is no one home. So I wonder if we didn't just unfortunately get here right as the pups were going to be leaving the den. Like I said, I'll say it again though, is that they weren't small. They were fluffy, they were very sweet, but they'd already started developing that black stripe on their backs. So I wonder if they just aren't running around with the adults. I haven't seen the adults around here at all, but we haven't really had a chance to come and explore around here at night with the thermal cameras. Again, it's a tough one. It's very sad. I wish we could have spent more time with him, but that's just one of those things. But let's try head back towards the road. It's a pity. Still looks like it's maybe being used though. I mean, that tunnel doesn't look particularly dirty. It looks quite clean. There's a worn path. Oh well, we'll have to find another one then. Maybe with even younger pups. I think we were lucky though to get that sighting just once. Would have been nice to have watched them grow. Now, Darlene, you're wondering if I knew how many pups were in the den. There were either 3 or 4. I'm not exactly sure. We saw them from a distance for lots of years. And then I counted 3, but there could have been a 4th one as well, which is typical for a jackal. They normally have between 3 and 4 pups. It was really, really nice. I'm sure there's plenty of them out and around here, though. We see so many jackals, so we'll just have to keep searching and scanning the areas again and using all the wonderful night cameras that we have. That'll definitely help us. I think what we'll do now is we'll probably jump back on the river road and start heading towards the east. I don't think we'll quite get to that magical spot I was telling you about because it's quite a distance away. Maybe we can start there this afternoon because it's very pretty. Now, something that I have not seen since I've been here, and an animal that I'm definitely missing, is the wild dog. And Kathy, you were wondering if there were wild dog in the area. So there are, but they're not very common. We know that wild dogs are critically endangered, and up here the populations seem to be very, very thin. I believe there's a pack of 2 that moves in and out of the Serengeti, so right on the southern border of the Mara Triangle, and then apparently there's a pack of 14. This is what Vincent was telling us. Remember Vincent, he came for an interview. He said north of the Olololo Gate, I think maybe north of that hill, on that side down there. He says there's a pack of 14, which is pretty incredible. I didn't really hear too much more about it though, but nice to know. So there's definitely a possibility of seeing them. I think you've just got to be at the right place at the excuse me, I haven't sneezed on safari for ages. Woo, what a time to be alive. That's something that Megan always says. Oh, good one. Another question from Kathy. Thanks for all your questions today. What is the rarest animal that you can see in the Mara? You might stump me here. Southern ground hornbills are pretty rare. Probably a wild dog would be a goodie. And just trying to think what other very, very special creatures you get. Woo, sorry, I almost lost my hat there. That's how you know it's windy. Let me tuck my hair back in now. It's escaping. I think even seeing something like an aardwolf would be pretty special. However, they're not necessarily rare. It's just that they're uncommon because they're so shy. They move around at night. Bat-eared foxes I got to see too. That would be a very special sighting as well. So Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I mean, wild dogs would probably be the most rare again, but I mean, I stand under correction just because we know that they're here, but there are not many of them around. But any of the nocturnal creatures would be so special. Even to see an aardvark, we're very lucky. Serval are so common here. It's unbelievable. Scott saw 2 last night, and you see them often just darting through the grass, crossing the road. Some of them are so relaxed, you know, that you can get within a meter of them, and they happily move around the car, and they don't mind it if you follow them. So it's very, very nice. I do find the animals' behavior a lot more relaxed here. Again, obviously they're interacting with vehicles constantly, but it's just so open. They can see something coming from miles away. Whereas, you know, if you see a serval, say, in the Sabi Sand, although I've had some really nice relaxed sightings of servals, let's go with an aardvark. You can sit and you can watch an aardvark here from 50 meters away, and it'll be not bothered by you at all. In the Sabi Sand, in order to see an aardvark, you need to be so close that it feels a little bit timid and frightened and then moves off. So much of a muchness, really. But I did tell you a story how we wouldn't quite, I don't know if you could use the word habituate an aardvark, but when I was down at Sabi, I saw an aardvark regularly for a couple of weeks in a row, and it started off with, you know, one, seeing it for a couple of seconds, running away, and eventually we were able to spend more and more time with it. We figured out where and what its movements were at night. And then once he changed burrows, though, it became a little bit more difficult, but he became quite relaxed with us. So we'll keep going. We'll see if we can find anything along the river road, hopefully maybe some elephants. I'd like to still find that black-headed heron and maybe watch it catch something. Well, we'll find a black-headed heron. The good area for the crowned cranes, they're always beautiful. Steph is with the zebra. Let's go and see if he's going to count their stripes.
We're not just with one zebra, we're with hundreds and hundreds of zebra. Just have a look in the background over there. We're going to zoom in now. We're at eye level with these zebra. Now this is quite a common sight at the end of the migration. Just thousands upon thousands of zebra left over. And just have a look at that. Isn't that the most amazing collection of zebra you've ever seen in your life? I don't know if I've ever seen more in one place. Incredible, hey? Just standing, moving from water to feeding grounds. Zebra can deal with a much wider diet. No, let me say that they can deal with different species of grass and a much wider quality band is actually what I want to say. So they can deal with coarse grasses that are not that nutritious, at least not nutritious for a ruminant, and they can deal with these grasses because they are not a ruminant. Basically, they are a hind-gut fermenter, very similar to a hippo, an elephant, a rhinoceros, or a warthog, and they can therefore. There's 2 zebra having a fight there as well, trying to bite each other's legs. Over there. Laura Moore, you want to know if this is a combined herd or just one, or just a bunch of groups? I think that this is probably a bunch of herds together, made up of stallions, like you're watching there, them having a good-on boxing match with one another. Made up of a bunch of stallions with their mares, just collected in an area where grass is good. So there's a lot of water here, there's a lot of good grasses here, and I think there's a whole bunch of different herds that are together. And what we're watching here is a dance between 2 male zebra, a proper boxing match going on. They're biting one another, trying to bite one another's hocks, getting into a position where they can aim a stabbing kick with those very powerful back legs to the head of an opponent. A zebra can kick another zebra to death. There you saw that. Zebra just getting his face out of the way of that very quick kick. So what they'll do is they'll use their teeth to try and bite at one another. Male zebra have canines, believe it or not. Peg-like canines. They don't protrude from the mouth at all, but if a male zebra yawns and opens up his mouth, they've got very sharp canines that they can use to inflict a very painful bite with one another. And of course, in getting away from the canines, one zebra may open up itself to a kick And that kick can be deadly. A zebra kicking another zebra in the head will absolutely kill it. Wow, this is a special treat watching these zebra go at it. Normally these sort of matches are over quite quickly. These two guys are harassing each other. Sally Jane, you say horseplay. Exactly what it is. Some horseplay at the moment between these zebras. Everywhere you look, at almost every focal length is a herd of zebra. It's just actually quite astounding, the amount of zebra that are here today. In a 180-degree arc around us is zebra. And if I were to guess at how many are probably within view, I would say that there's upwards of about 1,000, maybe just more than 1,000 zebra if I just quickly use, my very undeveloped sense of counting vast herds, all of 3 or 4 game drives that I've done. But definitely a large collection. You can see that is looking west out across the Mara Triangle and Masai Mara game reserves. Kathy, you want to know if zebras ever have twins? It's not unusual. It's not common. They can have twins. There are documented cases of zebra having twins. I have never seen zebras having twins, though. And so while I suppose in an area like this where there's just that many zebra, you'd see it fairly often. There are not that many zebra in the Kruger National Park. Not anywhere close to the numbers like this, at least anyway. And so I've never seen it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And I do know that it is documented that zebra will have twins from time to time, as it is with most mammals who only have one baby. It's also not unheard of for rhino and hippo and elephant to have twins as well, albeit a bit more common with elephant. Now, talking about elephant, Taylor has managed to find a fairly large herd of elephant. We'll catch up with you in a little bit.
I have, but before I even focus on the elephants, I just want to show you the abundance of game that we have around here. So you've seen the elephants, and then if you go to the left, you've got zebra. Hello, zebra. Then we've got some topi walking towards us, and then on the far right-hand side, there's baboons, olive baboons that like olives. I think Steph was talking about that yesterday. That was very funny. It actually made me giggle when I was fed that update. And then even further to the east, we've got a buffalo and some waterbuck. Isn't that amazing? Now, I would feel very, very safe if I was an animal and I was moving amongst all these creatures out here, because from there's even warthog. Oh my goodness, that was a bonus. From the baboons to the zebra, they've got unbelievable eyesight. And warthog, wouldn't rely on him too much. The topi as well, very vigilant. You often see them standing up on termite mounds, surveying the area. And then, of course, when you've got Africa's great giant moving through the plains, I wouldn't really worry too much about lions. I think that they would be on your side and try and chase them away. But it's very open out here, so it would be a little bit of a challenge for a predator to come through here. Again, not just because of the many eyes and ears, but the grass is fairly short and they'll be, exposed quite a bit. Roshni said that it's like a playground. I suppose it is, if only that little elephant in the middle there would come charging out and chase around the zebra or chase a warthog or the baboons. That might even happen because they're walking towards the troop of baboons now, and sometimes those little elephants just can't help themselves. They get so excited, and often they will go off and try and chase other animals. Little rhinos do that too, I've noticed. You actually see more rhino calves trying to play with other species of animals. Often they're on their own than anything else. But they live in harmony. Obviously, these animals, they're competing for food, I suppose. But when you're the size of an elephant, it doesn't matter. And there is so much around at the moment that nobody's particularly stressed about it. Oh, a baboon with a little baby on its back. Off it goes, giving the elephants a wide berth, which is a wise decision. Here comes the little one again. Now, Justin, you're wondering if there's anything that I like more about the elephants in the Mara than I do about the elephants in at Djuma. No, I like them all. I'm just intrigued by the looks of the elephants up here. I don't know why, but they look slightly different, especially the old cows. It's quite interesting to see. We saw a really, really, really old cow today. My goodness, she must have been right at the end of her life. It was just a quick view of her. We were on the way to the jackal den. So I don't think there's anything particular that I like more about the elephants of Djuma versus the elephants of the Mara. I think I like the fact that the elephants of Djuma come right around the car and often interact with us. The elephants in the Mara don't seem too bothered at all. Oh, there we go. We're going to get some playful little ones. Go chase a baboon. That would be really funny, wouldn't it? Or a flock of birds. Actually, I love it when they chase birds. That's probably my favorite thing with little elephants. And they're lovely here. Like I was saying this the other day, I was so impressed as to how relaxed the Ellies are this side. I suppose it's like a Kruger National Park. They're constantly in contact with vehicles, moving around them. They see us often. They see ones that drive fast. They see ones that drive slowly. So they've got a very good tolerance for us as humans, which is fantastic. Obviously makes game viewing really, really good, but it is important to still watch their behavior and not get too complacent around them, because they're big here. They are really, really big. Oh, goodness. Two youngsters get... Oh, here comes a cow coming in now. She's not tolerating any of that. Or was it... It was a young bull on the left. Was it another cow in the middle? Just trying to have a look. No, it looks like it was also a cow there. Those are two cows. At first I thought it was two bulls pushing and shoving, but it's obviously that young bull that was to the left that's causing a bit of havoc in the herd. And he's at that time in his life where he thinks that he is the greatest thing on earth. In reality, he really is not. He is so far down on the hierarchy when it comes to elephants. And so maybe that other cow was just coming into for a bit of reinforcement, just to chase away that naughty bull. Oh, and look at that little elephant go. They are so precious. Elephants of all different sizes here. And graze. Oh no, that's not a bit of grass, the shrubs. It's always interesting to sit and watch an elephant for some time just to see what they are feeding on. And I thought she pulled up a piece of grass, but it looked like she went for a little shrub that's growing in and amongst all that golden grass. Yeah, they are too. Using their feet like spades. Oh, so precious. I don't know how anybody could want to harm these animals. They are so precious. No, do you say you're wondering if the elephants ever lay down? Of course they do. I think Steph had an elephant that was laying down. Was it yesterday or this morning? One of them was sleeping. But they do. And particularly, it was this morning. Yes, it was this morning. No. This morning it was one trying to do a handstand. Yesterday afternoon apparently Steph had one sleeping. So it's more common to see young elephants laying down and having a bit of a snooze. You can imagine being on their legs for most of the day, tailing behind the herd. Also, they spend quite a bit of time playing about. It's quite tiring, and they will end up just having a little rest when they can. They'll flop down on their sides. But as they get older, it gets more and more difficult for them to get back up. And it also puts a lot of pressure on their organs. So they don't stay down for too long. We often see them laying up against termite mounds, obviously at a bit of an angle. It's easier for them to get to their feet. They're quite vulnerable when they're down on the ground. And then I always tell you the story of the elephant bull in the Eastern Cape, where I've seen him stick his tusks into the side of a bank and just hang his head and rest like that, which is quite funny to see. But then I've also seen elephant cows fast asleep on the ground and snoring. I've also told you that story before. So it's a little bit of both, I suppose. It just depends on how they're feeling. But with all the recent studies and technology, we now have learned that elephants don't really need to sleep every single day at all. They can go quite a number of hours without rest. He's a little bit boisterous, this fella, hey? Oh, careful, you're going to lose an eye via Tusk. Now they're going to have an argument on the road. This is quite cool. This is really nice. And lots of people are coming around now to watch this. It's a beautiful scene out here with all the different animal species. So they look like they're heading down towards the river now. Oh, beautiful. All walking in a lovely row. where I'm sure they will browse, and buffalo just watching. Waterbuck, ooh, that looks like move out the way, elephants, we want to watch a frisky waterbuck. That male looked very excited about that girl. See, look how close he's standing against her. Sorry, elephants, you've now lost out. Let's see what's going to happen. She's got her tail raised slightly too. I wonder if she's not an estrus. Let's see what happens here. This could be quite interesting. He's headbutting her. Hey, be gentle. This is not how you win a lady over. Woo! Hello. There we go. So not only do we have little elephants playing and pushing one another around, buffalo standing and watching, we have got a beautiful specimen of a waterbuck bull who's trying to mate with his lovely lady that I suppose he's been courting, but he doesn't seem to be doing a good job. She seems to be making an escape. But she's got her tail moved away from her backside, so she's definitely interested in this boy, and he is a lovely boy too. He's got lovely big horns, he's got a big body. He's one of the nicest looking waterbuck bulls I've seen since I've been here. Remember, this is not the common waterbuck that we get down in South Africa. This is the Defassa waterbuck, so they lack that ring around their rump. This is very interesting. I don't think I've seen successful mating with waterbuck before. Very cool. Well, we'll sit here for a little bit longer and see what our honeymoon couple get up to. Steph, however, has also managed to find some elephants quite close to his vehicle.
We do have Elise close to my vehicle, and she's a female. She's a full-grown female, and she's also got beautiful tusks. Not quite as long as that other female where we were with a couple of seconds ago, but definitely very symmetrical tusks. They're almost the exact same length as one another, and the same thickness, and the same angle away from her mouth. Just another one of those points that I make about the female elephant in this particular reserve being beautifully tusked. Look at that. That is unusual. The next time Tristan comes on, which hopefully Djuma will have sorted out their internet problems for this afternoon, and Tristan finds you some elephant today, tomorrow, or the next day, just have a look at the elephant tusks, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and how remarkable the difference is between the tusks of these female elephant here and the tusks of the female elephant at Djuma. She's got a bit of an ear infection. The ear that's pointing towards us is leaking fluid. Look, elephants get sick, so I don't think it's too bad, but it's an ear infection nonetheless. Now, Jasper, you just asked me if the open spaces has an effect on the elephant's mood and makes these elephants a bit calmer. Yes, I do think so. I definitely think that the open spaces and the lack of, these twisty-turny roads in thick bush that we have in the Kruger National Park, I think it definitely helps instill a sense of calmness and ease with the elephant. Around here, you definitely don't get them shaking their head at you as much as what we do in the Kruger, but in general, I think that the elephant here and the elephant in the Kruger are about as relaxed as one another. If I were to pick one over the other, I would say that Kruger Park elephant are more relaxed than Mara Triangle elephant. If I were to choose, but Taylor's got something that is also pretty rare to see, and before it finishes, off you go.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I've never come across it before, waterbuck mating. So it'll be an interesting thing to sit here and just sort of watch what happens. Like I said, I've seen parlor mating before, I've seen blessbok mating, I've seen a couple of different antelope species mating, nyala mating. He's trying very, very hard, but unfortunately he has not been successful. Now, whether it's because maybe he's just inexperienced or he's just taking his time, there's absolutely no rush. She's not racing away from him. So like I said, she's susceptible to him. She obviously is an estrus and is ready to be mated with. But let's just see what happens. he keeps trying to mount her, and then she sort of takes a couple of steps forward, and then he loses his balance and ends up, well, not being successful. Let's see if he's going to go back to her. I'm sure he was going to follow her around for the day. This is so cool. And I love the way that he was nudging her as well, trying to sort of court her, trying to get her on his side. And there he is. Now he's just standing. Now he's just watching. I wonder if there's some more females in this herd that have also coming into estrus, because we're obviously talking about animals sinking their estrus cycles. It makes sense, and we know that antelope are particularly good at it. It's important that there are lots of them around, otherwise the youngsters probably won't make it to adulthood. Now he's taking a bit of a break. Maybe he was successful at one point and we just missed it. He did try and mount a few times after we sent you across to Steph, but I from what I saw, it didn't look like it was successful at all. D-Hugs, you said that you think it's the oxpeckers that are throwing him off his balance. Possibly. Maybe that's the case. That's very funny, actually. Oh, that's wonderful. But Waterbuck are quite territorial. I've told you about how, and I'm sure Brent and Jamie and James and Scott, everyone, and even Steph has mentioned to you how territorial Waterbuck bulls can be, and that when there is a fight that happens, often one leads in a fatality. So he better be careful, because he's got a lovely herd surrounding him. How many girls has he got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ladies. So that's a good amount. I mean, there can be up to 30 females within in one herd, especially out in these areas that can sustain for larger groups of animals. There's obviously a lot of grazing, which is what Waterbuck love to do, is eat grass. But now it's all calmed down for the moment. Well, I thought that was very cool to see, and hopefully you got some interesting screenshots. It's not every single day that we see behavior like that. It would have been nice now to have another bull charging in, don't you think? To come and compete. And that would be very exciting. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a real Waterbuck fight. I got excited just before I left the Sabi Sand to come to the Mara, where we had 2 Waterbuck that were sizing one another up, and they sort of locked horns at one point, and then they stopped. And I really, really thought we were going to see a real fight. But that was not the case, so we'll have to just wait for another day. But he's settled down, so let's carry on. Let's see what else we can find around here. A very nice road, very popular. Our elephants are still very slowly making their way towards the river. Oops. Yeah. Bye, buffalo. He was just enjoying the show, apparently. We'll keep moving along here. I'm still looking for my black-headed heron. I'd like to at least get that bird on camera today. Let's jump back on board with Steph, and I wonder what his plans are for the rest of the morning.
My plans are for the rest of the morning going on a game drive, but right now my plans are watching this beautiful herd of Maasai giraffe walking towards us. And inside this herd we've got a lot of different colors. Now giraffe can be blonde and can be brunette, and right there we've got a brunette giraffe and a blonde giraffe right next to each other, and I think that's quite a nice description of how light they can go. It's not the lightest or the darkest that I've ever seen a giraffe, but that color variation in their skin is very apparent in that particular giraffe. And he's a beautiful male, the dark one at the back, and the one in the front is a female. The 2 in the front are the female actually, and this male is in attendance. He's hoping that one of them urinate quite soon, I'm sure, so that he can taste the urine, pass it over the chemical receptors in the roof of his mouth, and let his brain then tell him whether or not one of these giraffe cows is approaching or in estrus. And if they're not, he will then carry on with his wanderings to look for another female. Right now he's looking at some giraffe that are probably about 2 miles away, and male giraffe are very attentive of other giraffe in the area. They're inquisitive about what they do. There's a youngster that's walking in front of him now, probably about 2 years old, with mom in tow. And Alice tells me there's a couple of you marveling at the beauty of these giraffe. I must be honest with you that between zebra and giraffe, they are my favorite in terms of prettiness, if I could say, without sounding weird. They're just so graceful and elegant. I love them. They sort of sail across this environment. I mean, can you imagine having never seen a giraffe before and coming around the corner and having this animal next to you? I'm going to go forward a little bit. We are on a main road here, and I think given the... There they go, getting a little bit of a fright. Wow, that is a beautiful male giraffe. He is in tip-top condition. Sleek and shiny and well-muscled. Very nice. AZ, you'd like to know how tall he is. They're not as tall as the giraffe that we find in the Kruger National Park. So the Maasai giraffe is slightly shorter than what the common giraffe is. I would imagine that he's probably in the region of about 4 meters. So 12 feet, 13 feet up in the sky. Whereas a male giraffe of the common giraffe variety, they get to about 5 meters, 5.5 meters, so 15 feet up in the sky. So 3 or 4 feet shorter than what the common giraffe is. But I mean, to give you an idea, if we just go wide a little bit, that's a Land Cruiser that's 4 meters tall at next to him, and he's easily 3 or 4 feet taller than that. He is a fantastic specimen of a Maasai giraffe. I actually want to see if we can get closer and get a better view of him. The reason for that is that it's quite uncommon to see very, very healthy male giraffe. They're almost always nomadic, going from one herd of females to another, to another, to another. And that makes them difficult to actually see. Okay, now guys, now you can stop so that we can have a good look at you. Today I seem to be plagued by droves of cars that are following us around. I don't know if it's because I'm having luck of the draw in the sightings today, but for some reason the back of my car seems to be a magnet for Land Cruisers. Gotta love it. Alright, I think that's going to give us a nice view of this journey of giraffe walking out into the wilderness. That is lovely. That is a fantastic picture. Well done, Mr. Craig. Just enjoying the peace and quiet and beauty of this particular sighting with you. That is lovely. Wow. Let's see. Now that female, she's urinating there, and that male is angling right in on her. Now let's see what he does there. Oh, he's decided that it's a much better idea to stuff his face full of food, but let's just see what he does. There's a good chance that he just walks up to that urine and sticks his face into it. Unless, of course, he knows exactly what the state of that female is. No, he's decided that he'll move on. Alright, that's probably a good cue to send you over to Taylor, who's managed to get to some water somewhere along the line.
We've got a hippopotamus. We've got a pod of hippos, actually, and we saw something really interesting. There is obviously a hippopotamus, and it's munching on a bit of grass, and there is a hippo skull just next to it. But what was really intriguing is this hippo had its nose where the jaws were, and it looked like it was trying to put the skull on. Don't think that's actually what was happening. I think it was trying to move the skull out of the way to get all the lovely green grass that has sprouted probably underneath it and around it. So you can see, even though the sun is up and it's, well, almost 9:30, out here. It's warm, the hippos are out and still grazing. There's a little one. We see this pod on a regular basis. I've actually come past here a few times and showed them to you. There's another one lying flat on its side. So we were talking about elephants laying down on the ground. You can see it's quite easy for a hippo though to lay flat. It's got short little stumpy legs, and I think it has to do a bit of a rolling technique to try and get back up to its feet. And they're the little ones just sort of moving off. What's that one doing on the left? What are you opening your mouth up at? You're just grazing. Oh, it's hippo dung. Oh, this is cool. It's eating the dung. Can you see that? Now, this is not very uncommon. It's something that, unfortunately, we don't get to see all the time. But it happens more often than we think. You often see with young animals eating mom's dung. And it's actually like, no, don't eat all of it. Just a little bit. Just small amounts. Oh, that's so funny. So it's basically just partially digested grass. But with young animals, it's actually quite good to get some of the bacteria back into their stomachs. And sometimes it's the easiest way than chewing your own food, is to have something that's partially digested. Remember how we were seeing hippos eating out of rhino middens in the Sabi Sand? It was very, very sad. Now, that was for an entirely different reason. That was just because there was no food around, and that was the only grass that hippo could find. I think it may have even been Henry, and it was around Buffelshoek Dam, somewhere around there. It was very, very sad. But quite cool. Not a particularly tiny hippopotamus. I would say that one's maybe... let me guess from here. Now I'm trying to guess. That young calf on the right is probably about 8 months old or so. Another one must be maybe a year and a half. Jennifer, you said that there's such a size difference between the members in the pod. Oh, yes, definitely. We've got females. I haven't seen a big bull just yet. He might be one of the hippos that are in the water, but they're having a great time, just relaxing, going about their day, not too bothered. I love that shine that you get on their backs from the sun, and I always talk about how you can see it so clearly on those moonlit evenings. That's what it looks like, but darkness, so that's all you see is that silvery sheen that we've got right now. It is beautiful to see in the cover of darkness. And I reckon they'll be in and out of the water for most of the day. When they get too hot, they'll probably go in, refresh themselves. They want to come out and graze again. There's lots of green grass right on the banks of the river. So you can see why the hippo would want to spend time out here. Is that it does. Oh, did you see that, David? The little one just bit the hippo that was laying down. Look, he's doing it again. Look. That is a cheeky little hippopotamus. It keeps biting the hippo that's sleeping. It's biting it on its foot. Let's see if it does it again. That was so funny. You better be careful, little hippopotamus, because that other hippo's got a rather large mouth, and you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble. I just love it when these animals are so cheeky like this. That it just shows you that, a small, whether it be a small animal or a child, they're all the same. They behave the same. They don't listen. They do things they're not supposed to do. It's really fun. And then, of course, they're so playful. That was hysterical. That's one of the funnier things I've seen a hippo do before. And the fact that it did it twice made it way more entertaining. So that's obviously mom on the right-hand side. You can see how it keeps sort of huddling up, showing a bit of affection. So even hippos are affectionate, and it's important that they show ways of sort of affection. So, they might not groom one another like a lion would or a leopard would, but they definitely nudge. Look, it's curious. Where are you going now? You're going to the hippo skull. Let's see what it does, if it's going to go and bother the other sleeping individual. I wouldn't be surprised. That little one looks like it's up to no good. Perhaps it's the little tailor of hippopotami. Hippopotamus is always a tongue-tying word, isn't it? Stevie, you reckon that this little one wants to play? That's exactly it. They really are playful creatures. We see them, especially when you sit at Chitwa Dam for long periods of time. You will notice that those little ones are often sparring with one another, acting like the adults, more just gumming each other, though, not really doing any damage at all. They're very sociable creatures, the hippos. What's going on over there? We saw some ripples. Now, Roshni, you said, why is the face of a hippo pink? well, I suppose we see it around their necks, and they've got a bit of a pink tinge to their bodies, particularly on their underside, so in between their legs, underneath their tail, underneath their neck, around their ears. But remember, in those areas are also prone to the blood sweat, the hipposudoric acid too, which is red in color, and that helps protect them. And that's also why you get that sort of sheen on the hippo's back, that oily look, is because it is an oily substance, and that acts as a mild sunblock. It also acts as an antiseptic, which is very, very important for hippos, because you've seen, oh, that's an interesting way to lay down. You've seen how when bulls fight, they look, I always describe it, they look like they've gone through a paper shredder. It's quite terrible. Let's see what happens now that Mom sat down to have a bit of a rest, what this little one is going to do. Are you going to follow in Mom's footsteps, or are you going to do a bit of playing about? I really hope it goes and explores a little bit and plays around. Oh, I really love watching Hippo, and I always tell you how excited I am to see hippos out of the water again, because you really then get a true look at how massive they are, especially when they're quite close to the car. So I believe a whole lot of you were actually saying a very similar thing to me. Great minds think alike, how great it is to see hippos out of the water. Now, what amazes me as well, there's this hippo that's in the water closest to us. There's a little, I don't know what little bird is sitting on its back. Let's see it. The little sandpiper. It is a little sandpiper. We briefly got a view of a sandpiper on a hippo's back the other day. And we know that they like to eat insects, and we know that oxpeckers are often on the backs of animals, removing parasites. But it seems as though that that common sandpiper was doing something similar. It was actually pecking on the back of the hippo. So maybe there were some flies or something sitting on it. But definitely getting a meal off of it. Very interesting. You get all those old wounds, all those scars. So those are from the teeth of the hippo, and that's why I say it looks like a paper shredder, or like somebody playing with a knife in Play-Doh or something, just cutting all those lines. But they're such tough creatures. Oh, that little one's now getting too excited. You are causing havoc amongst sleeping hippos. Go and play with your friend on the left and stop bothering the adults. There you go. What are they going to do? Trying to get comfortable, just shuffling around a little bit. Look at their stubby little feet. Aren't they so precious? Aren't those just the sweetest little feet you've ever seen in your entire life? Chubby neck. Look at that. All that extra fat. Oh, there we go. There's your friend. Yes, look how excited they're getting. You do. All you want to do is play, don't you? Egyptian geese are very unhappy about something, but they're also just very noisy birds, so we're not going to bother about them. I did do a quick scan around. There doesn't seem to be any predators that are obvious to me. Perhaps they're just annoyed by our presence and have actually moved off now. That's a little hippopotamus. I'd love to show you a brand new hippo that's been born a couple of days out of the water. That is tiny, almost half the size of this little one that we've got here. Very cool though. But I think we'll move on from these hippo. They gave us a very cool view this morning, some interesting behavior. Steph has managed to find my favorite bird in the whole wide world.
I must say they're fast becoming my favorite bird in the whole wide world as well. I love the way that it's got something. We're watching a hunt, and is it going to end in a kill? Go, go, go. And smashed it with a foot. No, missed it. Still missing it. What are you chasing around? Grasshopper. I love the way that they kick things. Let's see if we can go forward a little bit and get in front of this guy again. These are obviously secretary birds, and although quite rare to see in Djuma in South Africa, you do from time to time, but it's not a very common bird to see. Here we see them quite often, almost every day. They hang around in these pairs together, walking around on their long legs, chasing around bugs and stepping on them like you watched there. I think it's fantastic the way that they stab out with their foot and just smash whatever they're looking at into submission before swallowing it down. Now, they are supreme snake hunters, but of course, they don't only hunt for snakes. They also hunt for bugs and grasshoppers and everything else. And that is what this pair is doing right now. I'm hoping that we see them hunt a snake. It would be quite nice to see them do that. Oh, sorry, Alice, my microphone jack came out again. Would you just repeat that question from Mary? Mary, you just said that they're such interesting birds. I must agree with you, Mary. They really are amazing birds. They're not only elegant, but they're also very good hunters. They've got like a variety of different forms as well. They've got a puffy bottom. Looks like they've sat on a piece of cotton wool. They've got those quite gorgeous quills that stick out the top of their head. They're lovely legs, which look like they've got, I suppose, some type of stocking on. There are actually 3 of them here. I wonder if one's not a youngster. I wonder if one isn't a youngster. They've got these wickedly curved beaks, and then they know how to hunt snakes as well. Do so, you want to know if they can fly? They can absolutely fly. They're enormously good flyers. What I want to say, they're not enormously. What I want to say is that they're very good flyers. They have enormous wings, and of course those lovely legs that stick out the back make for a beautiful profile in actual fact. They really are quite good looking birds, I must be honest with you. Let's see if we can reposition slightly to get into a better place, just to give us a slightly better view. And then not only that, but I'm also on the main road here I'm in the main road here in the Mara, and of course we have the most traffic on this road that I could possibly think. So that was just me trying to weave my way through the traffic. It's crazy. Now, obviously the pro of having so many cars around here every day is the fact that there's very little that is missed in terms of gulping down something there. There's very little that is missed in terms of animal activity. This is definitely a youngster. So this one that you're looking at there, he's a young one. And so this is an adolescent secretary bird that's walking around with mom and dad, copying what they're doing. It's called precocial behavior, and stabbing out at a bunch of locusts and grasshoppers that is currently walking around in the field. Excuse the noise, everybody. It's just one of those things that happen here when you get a lot of cars on a main road. My fault for being on the main road. But like I said, we all form part of a network of people that help us with sightings, and we've seen some amazing things here because of this vast network of people that help each other. So the odd bit of noise and a bit of traffic jam is well worth it. Let's see what he does. Now there's just weaving in and out over here, finding these insects. Clay Mateo, you want to know if they'd attack me if I walked up to one of them? That's actually a good question. I don't know. Yes. Are they aggressive birds? No, not particularly. If I threatened their baby, in other words, if I ran up to them and threatened their baby, will they run up and try and kick me? They might do. It's a big bird. If I were to go and stand next to that secretary bird and it had to stand up and stretch its head up, it would reach to my armpit, which is a good 5 feet off the ground. It's an enormous bird, this. And with a very powerful kick, you can watch them stab out, and there's force generated on that kick when they do kick at something. Let's change position here slightly again. Get onto the other side and see if we can find them going forward again. I must say that the chill in the air has left, and it is quite warm at the moment. It's turning into a beautiful day. All right, we're going to turn around in the front there on the road and see if we can get in front of these secondary birds. In the meantime, why don't I send you over to Taylor? I'm not sure what she's up to at the moment.
We're bumbling. We left our hippos. We're just having a look through here. This is also a very good area for black rhinos, so maybe there'll be a black rhino on the cards today. I think that could be quite nice. I'm trying to think what else we could see around here. Maybe some eland. I always like spending time with the eland. They're beautiful. Lovely animals. Just trying to think. Let's go this way. I still want to keep hugging the river. I don't want to move too far away from it just because... Oh, sorry, a bit bumpy. Just because there's so many animals around. There's a couple of zebra about moving through, deciding what they're going to do with their day. Still looking for my heron. Haven't seen my heron yet. We'll get it. We have to get it. We've got 23... Oh, Alice has just said that we've only got 23 minutes left. Oh, the pressure's on. But I know they like it around here. They love these open grasslands. It's beautiful. Now, another bird I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, hopefully as we do move along the rivers, is a purple heron. I don't know if we get purple herons up here. I'm sure you must, though. Or maybe more in the wetland areas. They're very pretty. They look similar to Goliath herons, but not quite as big. You used to see lots of them down on the Bushman's River in South Africa. Well, at that and the Goliath herons, they were quite beautiful to look at. And maybe a new bird for some of you. I would imagine that you would see them up here, but I'll have to check in my massive bird book when we get back to camp and have a look if their distribution occurs around here. Or maybe somebody knows. Maybe you've already seen a purple heron. And there's me trying to surprise you with a new one. Meantime, it's already been added to some lists. What other birds could we see around here? Could be interesting. Also still looking for a yellow-throated longclaw. We had lots of them earlier this morning and now they all seem to have disappeared, probably just down into the grass. Superb starlings, that would be nice. I've only seen them once so far and it was such a quick view and into the sun, so it wasn't that great. That would be lovely. Now it's gone quiet. That's the only thing in the Mara. And obviously we're so lucky. You'll just have, 10 different species of animals all together, no problem. And then you'll go half an hour where there just won't even be a bird flying around. Just massive open grassy areas. But at least the scenery is pretty, isn't it? As long as we've got that going for us. Now, question about the preservation of the wildlife here from James, and basically is, are all the animals protected by the government? I would imagine that they have some sort of conservation unit. I'm not sure what it would be called, where the animals within the national parks and the conservancies will be protected, very much like what we have in South Africa. I think it is so important to try and prevent poaching, even if it's not poaching on a large scale, like big animals like elephants and lions and rhinos and that type of thing, but even poaching right down to just antelope for bushmeat. So I'm sure they'll have sorts of things in motion where you're not allowed to hunt any animals that are within the conservancies. Obviously, when things move out of the conservancies and into the villages, there's not much you can do to control that. You can only sort of control the protected area. So yes, I feel fairly confident. I'm just unfortunately, James, not sure as to what the name of the sort of Conservation Protection Act would be up in this area. I think it would be very different to what we have down in South Africa. Let's see here. Maybe when are we going to get lucky? I feel like we could see a black rhino around here. This is where I've seen them before, all the way along here. Apparently very, very good spots. Maybe even a leopard. It could be good turf for a leopard as well. So Steph is having a wonderful time sitting and watching those secretary birds hunt. Hopefully his patience will pay off and they'll demonstrate why they're so good at catching snakes.
Well, that's exactly what we're waiting for, is for them to come out and hunt a snake. I'm hoping it's going to be a big one, like a snouted cobra that's 7 feet long, or a forest cobra, or a Jamison's mamba, or any one of these exotic snakes that occur in this particular area. The most likely event though is they're just going to chase around grasshoppers like they've been doing for the last couple of minutes. But it is quite nice seeing this family group. I must be honest, there's just something lovely about watching secretary birds. There we go, one stabbing forward there. Yeah, the other one comes in now. They're very intent hunters. I've never really, I've watched secretary birds on numerous occasions over a 20-year career, but to be honest, I've never really sat and watched them like I'm doing today. Quite often they disappear behind thick bush. The Kruger Park obviously is a much thicker, more densely wooded environment, and so they disappear quite quickly, and you can see from these birds they cover an enormous amount of ground. And so I've never watched one with the intent that I'm busy doing at the moment. It's nice, for lack of a better word, I suppose. Yeah, they're going down into the road that I've just left. Sushan, you wanted to know if secretary birds live together as a family. Yes, in part. So it's a bonded pair, the male and the female. They mate for life as long as both partners are still alive. And then they'll have one chick. They'll sometimes lay 2 eggs, but only one chick will be raised. And that chick will stay with mom and dad for a good few years while it learns how to become a secretary bird. And after a certain amount of time, I'm not sure exactly how much time. Let me see if I've got my bird book here. No, I don't have my Robert's bird book with me here. So I can't answer the question of after how much time they spend with one another, but after a certain amount of time, and it'll be a few years, I'm going to put it out there and say probably around about 3 or 4 years, the young secretary bird will reach maturity, and at that point will go off to find a mate and form a bonded pair of their own. But it takes a long time for these large raptors to fledge and fully fledge a chick, and quite often multiple years. I mean, a Bateleur eagle, for instance, isn't fully fledged until it's about 9 years old, and you believe it, and has a lifespan of 40 or 50 years, same as these secretary birds. I don't know the exact longevity of them, or in actual fact how long they look after their babies for, but it's going to be years, and they're going to live for decades. They're enormous birds, and so these things, they've got the time for these things. So yes, I suppose to answer your question finally, yes, they do live together as a family, and as soon as the chick reaches adulthood, the chick will move off, similar to any family. So yes, I will agree with you on that, 100%, a family, and they live in family units. Bizarre habits of picking just a scrubby looking bush and then sitting on top of it for the evening. So yes, they do roost off of the ground. It's a lot safer for them to do so. Hyenas can't climb trees, and lions will be reluctant to climb scrubby bushes, and leopard will battle to climb up a bush that shakes around a bit, and the bird will be able to fly away before the leopard gets in it. So I suppose there's method in that madness. But yes, definitely they sleep in trees. Absolutely they do. And although they're not, like I said, you'd expect something that is as pretty as a secretary bird to pick a majestic tree just as good looking as it is. They've covered an amazing amount of distance since you first came to us. Not even a couple of segments ago, since you just came to us in this particular sighting. Oh, did he just try and catch an insect out of the air? Amazing. Homing in. Short steps, trying to flush out the snake or the grasshopper. There we go. Go. Has he caught something? Go. Did he catch something? Missed it. But there we go. Got it. Swallowed. Breakfast done. Crazy. How epic is this sighting? Now, I've only read about those little mincing steps that they do. I've never seen it before myself. That was actually quite amazing to see, to be quite honest. The fact that they try to flush the insect out to those little chopping steps and then almost caught it out of the air. That was great. Let's see that one now. Sticking to the grasslands, not in the wooded areas. Boom, another one. Another one. I think these guys are going to have had their full pretty quickly, and will probably about the same time as us have finished their breakfast and then sit for the rest of the day in a tree and digest their lovely meal of whatever beetles and locusts they've been having. Good morning for them, at least, anyway. Well done. All right, another person that's having a good morning is my friend Taylor, who's busy making her way back from the river and would like to give you an update on what she's been doing.
Every time I hear the word my friend, I laugh because I have to just tell you a quick story. Steph's son Blake, who is 5 years old, and he is so cute, blonde hair, running around, real Tarzan of the Mara. And he calls one of the mechanics. We've got Shadrach and David, who work on the cars constantly and keep them in fantastic running order. But he calls David my friend, and often we hear in camp, we actually miss hearing his voice because he's gone back to South Africa. Just hearing Blake going, my friend, my friend. So when Steph says it, I have a good chuckle about it. It's the voice that I hear in my head. So there was quite a cool question from Cardi Pucks about if you were a herbivore or a predator, where would you choose to live between the Mara and Djuma? And I've been thinking about that for the last 5 minutes or so, going, I don't know. And then I thought, okay, let's do predator. I think if I was a predator, I would prefer to live in the Sabi Sand, and the reason why is I think that the animals out there, let's remove the migration part of it completely. Let's just talk about everyday Mara life here, when there's not hundreds of thousands of wildebeest. The game is a little bit more spread out. I think that hunting is probably a bit easier in the Sabi Sand because you have a lot more singular animals. Obviously you've got herds of buffalo, which they are specialists in. I don't know why I came this way, David, sorry. I chose to come through all the muddy bits. I think, it's probably, life is a little bit easier. There's not so many massive open spaces that you got to cross to try and get prey. You can catch a bushbuck or a kudu along the river line, no problem. It's also quite dense there. But then I think maybe life for a herbivore here would be a little bit on the easier side, but then again not. It's a tough one just because there's so much space. There's lots of grass. Times are exceptionally tough for the herbivores in the Sabi Sand. We know how hard the winters are. I mean, this is as green as it gets in summer in the Sabi Sand, just about. So it's a really tough one to answer, but that's what I think. Obviously everyone would have their own opinions to it. I think predator in the Sabi Sand might be a little bit easier, and I think herbivore out here in the Mara would be slightly easier just because they can see what's around them. But again, of course, we see the lions, the leopards, the hyenas, the cheetah. They still hunt, and they're still taking down animals on a regular basis, but they've just adapted. You might find if you had to bring some lions, say, from the Sabi Sand to massive open spaces, unless they lived at Cheetah Plains, which is big, wide and open, but it's one of the few areas that have massive open areas, and animals do adapt to their surroundings. I don't think it would take a lion that relocated from South Africa, savanna woodland and grassland. I think they would adapt, but I think it would take some time to getting used to all this open space. They'd have to alter their hunting techniques just slightly. And then if you took a zebra from the Mara and you put it in the Sabi Sand, I think it would be panicked and just petrified and running around scared for its life all the time because it wouldn't be able to see anything, wouldn't be able to see the far distances that it's normally used to seeing. So it's a tough one. But either way, if you had to move them between, I think they'd all be able to adapt. But quite a cool question. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love the most. And it's something that I enjoyed as guiding, was meeting people, obviously, from all over the world. But the different ways that people think and the things that people think of. I mean, I have all sorts of thoughts all the time. Like, why does that happen? but just ridiculous ones. I mean, they don't even make any sense half the time. But something like that, that's very interesting. And you know, if you've got any cool opinions and what you would think, you know, share them with us. Hashtag Safari Live. We've all got different views. Nobody will be correct. There's no correct answer to that answer. You know, you can say why you think something is and have your reasons about it, and fantastic. But here the zebra are around, and I said I wanted to find an eland. So we've got an eland. We'll quickly have a look at it to make sure there's no one behind me. No pesky black-headed heron. That'll have to be on this afternoon's agenda then. Amy just trying to find a nice view of the eland in and amongst the zebra. The zebra, I'll hopefully roll into the correct spot. Now. It's a tough one, but they'll probably move into a nice open gap, and you can see them just moving through. These look like cows, long, thin, slender horns, and not a particularly prominent dewlap, that flap of skin underneath its neck, and also that light tawny color is the way in which I used to identify females from males. She also looks a little bit rounded around the midsection. I wonder if there isn't a calf brewing inside her belly. And then, of course, we know with a bull, maybe we'll see a nice bull. They've got short, stumpier horns, very sharp still, and then they're more of a grey colour, and they have a massive dewlap. But that obviously only happens once they get a little bit older. So, not too difficult to tell the difference between the sexes, I find, with the eland. The zebra is way more difficult. Joan, you wondering if I've seen any roan antelope around? I have not. I'm not even sure if they occur in this area. If they do, they're hiding away very well, but it's the same thing in South Africa too. In the Great Kruger National Park, you get roan antelope and you get sable, and they're shy. Their populations are not very prominent, so you're very lucky if you see them. I have to have a look at my mammals list again of who exactly we see around here. Been seeing quite a few reedbuck, which is really nice. It must be a hard life for them. They're solitary. You just see a female here and there, or a beautiful male every now and then, or they seem to ruin the lion hunts. Remember that funny sighting? It was my first morning safari, where we had the Angama pride, and they were so close to the zebra and the wildebeest, and they were just within inches, and then that reedbuck got a fright and ran past between the lions and the plains game, and everybody just panicked and ran away. Not the lions, of course. I think they were a little bit annoyed. They were probably plotting their revenge on that reedbuck. Now, it's tough out here for the predators. Wonderful. Now, we're going to just try and squeeze through the zebra that are all crossing the road. Steph is actually off to my left, and I can see that he's looking at the tallest of tall creatures.
I am looking at a bunch of beautiful creatures. These are the Masai giraffe, a herd of Masai giraffe, and lovely in my opinion. A large herd of them, some of them sleeping, some of them not, but all beautiful. Some of them are chewing the cud, others are lying down doing it. There's another secretary bird in the background, some zebra. Just a beautiful sighting. All facing in the same direction. I think what they're doing is they're actually having a look at that other herd of giraffe that we were with. As mentioned a bit earlier, giraffe are very inquisitive about other giraffe, what they're doing, and where they're moving to. And quite often you see them looking and staring blissfully into the distance, and only to find that it's looking at another giraffe. Now, these giraffe that are lying down, there's two of them lying down here. They're lying down in a very specific posture, and that posture is called the ruminating posture. And the next time you see a cow, just a normal dairy cow, or a sheep, or a goat for that matter, lying down, they lie down in almost the exact same fashion. That's called the ruminating posture. Lie down on the side with the legs folded in and under, and they're just busy chewing the cud. Giraffes are ruminants, hoofed or split-hoofed ruminants, are pterodactyls. And although they are browsers, in other words, they eat leaves and twigs, they do need to still ruminate. And for a couple of hours a day, they'll lie down in that position that you're seeing them in, and will be regurgitating mouthfuls of vegetation and then chewing it smaller, breaking down that surface area. Very awesome sighting. Justin, you've just commented you don't think you've ever seen so many giraffe together, and it's quite true, Justin. If you've been watching the show for a long time, you'll note that we've been doing the majority of our game drives from the Kruger National Park, where the common giraffe occurs. There you battle to find a herd half this size at most. This, on the other hand, is a herd of Maasai giraffe, and they do congregate in large numbers. The largest amount of Maasai giraffe I've ever seen together has been over 40 here, and they mass, and it's really nice to see a large group of giraffe. Right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 giraffe in this particular journey, and a large number by any account. You just find their colors beautiful. Ilulolo Massif in the background. My two favorite, or best looking of animals around at the moment, together in one shot. The zebra and the giraffe. Nice screenshot that, actually. With a secretary bird in the background. All three elegant animals together. That's nice. It is a perfect ending after a really awesome game drive with everybody today. Thank you very much for joining us. It is coming to the end of the show again. So from myself and Craig, and from Taylor and David, and from Alice and Chantel and Jerry and everyone else in my team at the moment. Oh, I've been ambushed, sorry. I heard a clicking from Craig over there and completely ignored it. So I just want to say thanks to everybody again for watching us and for supporting us with all your questions and your comments. Of course, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you out there. So thank you very much again. We're going to end off by looking at those giraffe. I'm going to say goodbye. We'll see you again this afternoon. Look after yourself wherever you are in the world, and have a nice day.